Well, good morning. Glad you're on the trail with me when we're going to chat about some more business exit insights. So the insight I have for you today is who's on the other side of the table? If you're in the situation where you have now prepared your business for an exit and you've done all the things that you need to do, you've surrounded yourself with good advisors, and now you have offers on the table, and you're in serious due diligence and negotiations to develop a purchase agreement. And you sort of hit that stymie where the kind of requests and demands that they're making are just making you angry. Uh, the situation where the buyer is trying to dictate all sort of onerous terms, and the offer is good, but the type of terms they're uh, imposing on you, you just don't feel comfortable with. And you kind of get frustrated and you kind of just want to get up from the table and walk away. And sometimes that may be the right thing to do, but often it's not the right thing to do because you can figure out a way to make it a win situation for everybody. And so what I'd like to talk a little bit about today is how you deal in these negotiations really depends on figuring out who the buyer is on the other side and who uh, they are reporting to. If it's not a owner-operator buyer that's buying you, there are some situations where you're sitting across the table from the person that's actually going to be running the business, and he's represented by an M&A person or a business broker and sometimes a transaction attorney. But they're heavily involved in negotiations because they are the ones that are actually going to be rolling up the sleeves and getting involved in the business. And when you're in that type of situation, you act differently because the dynamics are different. And you have to be able to be aware of who you're actually talking to on the other side of the table. And so what I'd like to talk a little bit about today is actually how to go about figuring out who's on the other side of the table and what their motivations are. So let's chat a little bit about that. So there are different types of buyers. The type of buyers that are out there that have motivations that are entirely different. If you're talking to the owner operator, like I mentioned here a few minutes ago, their concerns and what they're interested in and the terms that they're going to negotiate are going to be entirely different than a person that is part of a family office, for example. They want you to be involved in the business for a period of time. Their interests are going to be different. If they're part of a corporate acquisition team that it does acquisitions on a day-to-day basis, their motivations are different, and it's important to understand of what those motivations are. So let's take the person of a corporate acquisition uh, specialist that is reporting to someone above him. And so the way that the hierarchy in that type of situation is generally you have a team of corporate acquisitions. They go out, they identify target companies, they do their due diligence, they make offers, and they are under the gun because they have to do so many deals a year. They're compensated on the type of deals they do. And so if they are motivated by that bonus and how they're getting compensated, they think a little bit differently than an owner-operator or a family office, for example. They have to report to their department head, maybe a VP for that part of the country that they're doing acquisitions in, or maybe in a vertical niche that they're doing acquisitions in. And they have to report to that person. And then that person has to go pitch the acquisition to the CEO, perhaps. And they are motivated by different things. And so you have to kind of figure out how the motivations are created on the other side of the table, what their needs are, how motivated they are, how important it is for them to do the deal. Often if you don't know with the hand they're holding and what their motivations are, you just have a total inability to figure out what you need to do. It's just almost impossible to figure out what you need to do. And but if you can take a few minutes and you can build a relationship with those people, and you can really understand where they're coming from, and you know, are able to extract information out from them about how they're structured and how long they've been doing this, and the type of deals that they've done and what were the hang-ups in those type of deals, you'll be able to build this relationship, and the guard will actually come down and they'll start sharing information to you, and you can start connecting the dots of really what their motivations are. And often I've seen situations where, you know, by building that relationship and, you know, going out after the negotiations and during due diligence, that you're able to build a relationship and able to chat about their family and their vacations and their hobbies and that. They will then drop little tidbits, kind of like breadcrumbs, that will lead you to figuring out what the motivations that they're really needing to do and how bad they need to be able to do this deal. And they have a lot of times a lot of flexibility on the deal terms that they're negotiating, because it's important. It's not important to them, but it's important to you on these deal terms, and you'll be able to get those deal terms if you understand the motivations on the other side of the table. But it takes time, and you have to have patience. The point of this insight is really that understanding who the buyer is, first of all, on the other side of the table, and then taking the time to build a relationship that you'll be able to have these breadcrumbs that you might be able to figure out just what their motivations are and how they're able to work, and uh, the speed in which they have to get deals done, and who they report to, and what they need to report, and the type of structure and presentation that they're going to make to their direct person they report to, and perhaps who that person is going to report to. As I said, someplace along the line, they're going to be reporting to the decision maker. It may be the CEO, it may be the head of the corporate acquisitions department, whoever that decision is going to be. They're going to have to figure out how to make that presentation and make it a compelling presentation of why it is your specific acquisition is important for them and the benefit to them, and a little bit about you. And you can actually sit down and help craft that presentation if you build that type of relationship. So what I want you to think about a little bit is figuring out who the buyer is, what their motivations are, and how to fit your demands and needs into their world, and being able to really structure something that really fits their specific situation. So that's my business insight for today. And so we'll see you on the next episode of Business Exit Insights.